My guest today is Shawn Walsh, and we're going to talk about his podcast, Vet SOS Podcast. Shawn, how are you? And you know what I'm impressed by? The fact is you're looking at what happens to veterans once they go ahead and make that transition. Thanks again for being on, but it's such a needed thing because so many veterans don't know what they're going to do after they leave the military.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Neil. And thanks again for having me on. I mean, it's just the whole transition process is one of those things that there's just so many things up in the air. There's so many possibilities, so many opportunities. And, any way we can try to help veterans with this whole transition process and the transitions they continue to have after they get out of the military, possibly jump into a new job or some sort of life change. We're just trying to find those resources and educate them about them.
Exactly. And education is the key because what happens, you said you were in that stuck phase. It didn't have everything planned when you got out of the military. So tell a little bit about that story really quickly.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, when I start looking at retiring from the military and getting out, it's like, what do you want to do? I don't know. There's thousands of things I qualify to do between education and training and job experience. So, taking those time to look at different references, talk to experts, talk to mentors, using the resources that are out there to try to narrow down what I want to do and find that path that fits me and my journey best.
No, that's the big challenge, right? The journey that meets you best. And then a lot of times it's almost like coming out of high school to go to college, right? Going out because your interests have probably changed by now, right? Than when
Well,
you're
a little
going
bit.
to first go to college. You have a different mindset, different lifestyle, different thought process. That's why we all go through so many transitions in careers.
Oh, absolutely. And the military used to a very specific type of lifestyle for however many years you serve, and breaking that lifestyle, taking what you learned and moving it into another career, it can be challenging. So, trying to figure out how to navigate those waters, that's what we're trying to do is help them find those resources to do it.
Yep. And finding them is a process, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
that's what you're looking at down the line with the foundation, right? To be that part.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, with the podcast, we're trying to highlight as many of the organizations as we can. There's over 45,000 veteran support organizations willing to help veterans. And then with the Veterans Sharing Our Stories Foundation that we're working on, that's going to be giving a platform for every veteran to tell their transition story, everything they went through and the resources they used that helped them. And with our plan is to be able to help other people make it through that transition successfully.
The transition story. That's the thing because everyone has to, because we don't want how many veterans are homeless right now. We have to fix that problem. And you're part of fixing that problem because the homelessness becomes from coming back home and not figuring out what to do. And just, it's a really a bad thing situation right now, the homeless situation for vets, right?
Oh, absolutely. The between the homelessness piece and the suicide piece with veterans, those two things are just huge things that we need to try to figure out how to fix. And there's a lot of great organizations trying to help that. And, hopefully we can help reach people and point them in the right direction, get them to the right resources so that they can successfully transition and move on to that next phase of their lives.
Absolutely. And when you're able to do that, it's such a great feeling. And I guess, what did you learn from so far in the podcast that people definitely need to check out the podcast? The transition stories are unbelievable, aren't they? And the
Oh,
organizations to help. Yeah.
they are so powerful. To hear the stories of what people have gone through. Even my co-host talks about how he had those suicidal ideations and that he was lost, didn't know what he was going to be doing. And someone who is as powerful as he is and has so much, leadership and motivation and all that, and to know that he was struggling that bad, those types of stories really just they hit you and you realize that there's a problem, and we got to try to help people work through that problem.
Yeah. And best place people can go. Where can they go?
VetSOSPodcast.com. You go there, you can hit the YouTube, you can hit the podcast platforms, you can find us on all the major networks, pull it down, download it, and check it out.
Well, Shawn, we appreciate it. Look forward to chatting next week again. Thanks again.
Absolutely, Neil.
All right. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.